Flex? Yes, sir. Yeah, but it's not. I think it's something other than the ground. I think it's something valuable. There's a tree right over. We just found the first night bird we've seen.
It started with the drones. At least that's what we thought they were. My friends Jake and Mia and I had been hiking through their pine barrens in New Jersey. A late-night adventure fueled by boredom and a craving for something thrilling. Jake, ever the conspiracy theorist, had brought up the infamous reports about strange drone sightings in the area. They're too quiet, he'd said, and they move too fast, not like any drone I've ever seen. Mia rolled her eyes, but even she couldn't deny that something about those glowing lights in the sky felt off. We didn't expect to see them ourselves, though. It was just past midnight when the first one appeared. A faint hum reached us before we saw the light, a pale bluish orb gliding silently between the treetops. Mia was the first to spot it. She'd froze mid-step, her flashlight beam wobbling as she pointed upward. "What the hell is that?" she whispered. Jake grinned, but it was strained. "Told you, drones, or maybe not." I wanted to laugh, to brush it off, but my throat felt tight. The light hovered for a moment, then darted sideways with a speed and precision that made my stomach churn. It wasn't the only one. More lights emerged, weaving through the trees like fireflies on steroids. They moved with purpose, as if searching for something or someone. "Let's go back," I said, my voice barely above a whisper. Jake hesitated, his eyes glued to the lights. "Wait, just a little closer. I need to see what they are." Before we could stop him, he stepped off the trail, vanishing into the shadows. Mia cursed under her breath and followed, leaving me no choice but to do the same. The air felt colder as we moved deeper into the woods, the hum growing louder. I could feel it in my chest, vibrating through my ribs. It wasn't just sound, it was something else, something invasive. We found Jake crouched behind a fallen tree, his phone pointed at the lights. He was recording, his face illuminated by the screen. "Look at this," he whispered. "They're not drones, they're something else." Mia grabbed his arm. "We need to leave. Now!" But it was too late. One of the lights stopped midair and turned toward us. I don't know how to describe it. It didn't have eyes, but I swear it was looking at us. The hum intensified, and the light expanded, swallowing the darkness around it. My vision blurred, and the ground seemed to tilt beneath me. Then everything went black. I woke up to silence. Not the kind of silence you get in the woods at night, but an unnatural, suffocating stillness. I was lying on a cold, metallic surface, the air sharp and sterile. When I tried to move, I couldn't. Something restrained my wrists and ankles. My heart pounded as I turned my head and saw Jake and Mia lying on similar tables, their faces pale and slack. "Jake, Mia!" I croaked, my voice weak. They didn't respond. The room was dimly lit, the walls smooth and featureless. A faint pulsating glow came from somewhere above, casting eerie shadows. The hum was back, but now it felt like it was inside my skull, a low-frequency buzz that made my teeth ache. A shadow moved at the edge of my vision. My breath hitched as a figure emerged, tall and impossibly thin, its elongated limbs moving with a disjointed grace. Its skin was pale and translucent. Its eyes, if you could call them that, were deep black voids. It didn't speak, but I could feel its presence in my mind, probing, prying. "What do you want?" I managed to whisper, my voice trembling, and it tilted its head almost curiously. Then the pain started. It was like nothing I'd ever felt before, a searing, burning sensation that seemed to come from everywhere and nowhere at once. My vision blurred, and I thought I screamed, but I couldn't hear anything over the hum. Images flashed through my mind. Stars, planets, unfamiliar landscapes. It wasn't just showing me. It was downloading them into me. When the pain finally stopped, I was drenched in sweat, my body trembling uncontrollably. The figure moved to Jake, and the process began again. This time I could hear him scream. I don't know how long we were there. Time didn't seem to exist in that place. When they finally released us, we woke up back in the woods, lying on the cold ground. The lights were gone, and the sky was beginning to lighten with the approaching dawn. Jake was the first to sit up, clutching his head. "What the hell just happened?" he muttered. Mia looked at me, her eyes wide with terror. "Was it a dream?" It wasn't. We all knew it wasn't. There were marks on our skin, tiny circular scars that hadn't been there before. And there was something else, something inside us. I could feel it. A faint buzzing awareness that wasn't mine. We didn't talk much as we made our way back to the car. The forest felt different, as if it was watching us. Jake's phone was gone, along with any evidence he might have captured, but the memory was burned into our minds, vivid and undeniable. A few days later, the news broke about a massive drone operation being conducted by the government in the area. They claimed it was a training exercise, nothing to be concerned about, but the official explanation didn't sit right. The way the reports downplayed the sightings, the lack of real answers, it all felt too convenient. Jake became obsessed. He started digging, connecting dots that led to shadowy government projects and whispered accounts of UFOs. "They're covering it up," he said one night, his voice frantic. "Those weren't drones, they were something else, and they don't want us to know." Mia tried to move on, pretending everything was fine, but I could see the cracks. She'd flinch at sudden noises, her eyes darting to the sky whenever a plane passed overhead. As for me, I couldn't shake the feeling that we were being watched. The hum was still there, faint but persistent, like an invisible thread tying me to something far beyond my understanding. Then Jake disappeared. We went to his apartment after he missed a meeting, but it was empty. His computer was gone, his notes scattered and incomplete. The police called it a voluntary disappearance, but Mia and I knew better. He'd gotten too close to something and they, whoever they were, had silenced him. Mia wanted to run, to leave New Jersey and never look back. I couldn't blame her, but deep down I knew it wouldn't matter. Whatever had taken us, whatever had marked us, wasn't bound by geography. It was only a matter of time before they came back, and when they did, I wasn't sure we'd survive it. It was one of those sticky summer nights where the air clung to your skin, heavy and restless. My best friend Mark and I decided to ride our bikes out to the Trow Bridge. Everyone in town knew the stories about it, the haunted bridge where strange floating lights were said to appear, luring people to their doom. Beneath the bridge ran an old, rusted railway line, the site of countless deaths over the years. The tales were enough to give anyone pause, but we were bored teenagers looking for a thrill. We weren't the first ones there. As we pedaled closer, the silhouette of a group of people loomed in the twilight, standing near the edge of the bridge. We exchanged uneasy glances, but kept going. The closer we got, the clearer it became that they weren't anyone we recognized. There were 5 or 6 of them, a mix of ages, all staring out into the horizon as if waiting for something. "Creepy," Mark muttered, hopping off his bike. "Maybe they're here for the same reason as us," I whispered back. "Yeah, well, let's not make friends." We leaned our bikes against the railing and took a cautious step forward. The air felt different here, cooler and charged, like the moment before a storm. Overhead, the sky was streaked with faint flashes of heat lightning, casting the bridge and the people on it in ghostly illumination. The drizzling rain started up, a light misty patter that clung to our clothes and made the air feel heavier still. Mark nudged me and pointed upward. "Do you see that?" At first I thought it was just the lightning playing tricks on my eyes, but then I saw it. A dark circular outline in the sky, barely visible except when the lightning cracked. It hovered silently, unnervingly still, its sheer size impossible to comprehend. "Holy... Is that a UFO?" Mark whispered, his voice trembling with a mix of awe and fear. "I don't know," I muttered, my heart racing. The next lightning strike illuminated it more clearly, revealing the faint outline of a massive disc-shaped anomaly, easily the size of 2 football fields. It hung in the dusky sky, silent and imposing. No hum of engines, no whir of blades, just an oppressive stillness. And then the lights turned on. They were impossibly bright, pulsing and flashing in intricate patterns that seemed almost deliberate. The group near the edge of the bridge reacted immediately, their heads snapping upward in unison. One man, tall and lanky with a wild tangle of hair, stepped forward, his face bathed in the eerie glow. He didn't speak, didn't blink, just stared. His mouth hung slightly open, and his eyes reflected the pulsating lights like mirrors. "What's he doing?" I asked, my voice cracking. He doesn't look right," Mark replied, taking a step back. The man's body went rigid, and for a moment I thought he'd collapsed. But then he straightened unnaturally, his head tilting back farther than seemed humanly possible. His expression was blank, devoid of life, as if the lights had drained him of something essential. "We need to go," Mark said, tugging at my arm. Before I could respond, the storm rolled in. The drizzle turned to heavy rain, and the lightning strikes grew closer, brighter, louder. One struck near us with a deafening crack, the flash so intense it left spots in my vision. I threw myself to the ground instinctively, the impact of the strike vibrating through the bridge. When the light faded, and the ringing in my ears subsided, I sat up, blinking through the rain. Mark was beside me, his face pale and his hands trembling. Where's the guy?" he stammered. I looked around, heart hammering in my chest. The man who had been staring at the lights was gone. The others in the group looked just as bewildered, their voices rising in panicked murmurs. No one had seen him move. He was simply gone. "This is bad," I muttered, scrambling to my feet. "We need to get out of here." Mark didn't argue. We ran to our bikes, the rain pelting us as the storm raged on. Another lightning strike illuminated the sky, and for a fleeting moment I saw the outline of the UFO again, closer this time. Its lights pulsed in a hypnotic rhythm, and I felt a strange pull, an almost overwhelming urge to look up at it, to let it consume me. "Don't look!" Mark shouted, snapping me out of it. He yanked my arm, and we both mounted our bikes, pedaling as fast as we could. The bridge seemed to stretch on forever, the rain blurring everything into a haze of gray and black. Behind us, I thought I could hear faint whispers, though it might have just been the wind. We didn't stop until we were miles away, our lungs burning and our clothes soaked through. We finally pulled over at a gas station, collapsing under the curb as we tried to catch our breath. Neither of us spoke for a long time. What could we say? How could we explain what we'd seen, what had happened? When Mark finally broke the silence, his voice was hoarse. "What the hell was that?" I shook my head, still staring at the ground. I don't know, but it wasn't normal. We never went back to Trowbridge after that night. The stories about the lights and the people who jumped to their deaths took on a new, horrifying meaning. I started avoiding the news, afraid I'd hear about another disappearance, another inexplicable tragedy. But deep down I knew that whatever was out there, it wasn't done with us. Sometimes, late at night, I still hear that faint, pulsing hum, feel that same unnatural pull. And I wonder if one day I'll look up and see those lights again.
I think it's something other than the ground. I think it's something that's...
Summer in Cedar Hollow is always a little boring. It's one of those small country towns where everyone knows each other, and the most exciting thing happening is the annual fair. But that summer, things changed forever. It was me, Ethan, and my two best friends, Ryan, who lived 2 houses down, and Lucas, who had the coolest treehouse ever. His dad built it years ago, complete with windows, a ladder, and even a makeshift deck. That night, we decided to sleep out there, partly because it was something to do, and partly because Lucas' parents weren't home. The evening started off like any other summer night. We hauled snacks, sleeping bags, and a flashlight up to the treehouse. By 10 o'clock, we were sitting on the deck, looking out over the endless cornfields behind Lucas's house. The fields stretched for miles, a sea of green swaying gently in the night breeze. "Think we'll see anything weird tonight?" Lucas asked, tossing a handful of popcorn into his mouth. Ryan snorted. "Like what? Bigfoot, aliens, ghosts? You've been watching too many late-night conspiracy shows." Lucas grinned. "Hey, I'm just saying, out here anything could happen." I laughed. "Yeah, like us dying of boredom." We kept joking around, but around midnight, something strange happened. A beam of light flashed across the sky, followed by a few more. It wasn't lightning, it was too deliberate, too controlled. The three of us froze, staring at the fields. "What the hell was that?" I whispered. Lucas pointed. "Look, over there." Through the treehouse window we saw them, small glowing orbs floating low over the corn. They moved in a way that didn't seem natural, gliding smoothly, almost like they were dancing. Wherever they went, the corn beneath them lay flat, like something was pressing it down. "No way," Ryan muttered, his voice shaky. "This has to be a prank or something." "Who would prank us out here?" Lucas shot back. "It's the middle of nowhere." We watched in stunned silence for what felt like forever. The orbs weaved through the fields, flashing intermittently. Finally, Lucas stood up. "We're going down." "Are you insane?" Ryan hissed. "What if it's dangerous?" Lucas smirked. "You scared?" Ryan glared at him but didn't say anything. I wasn't sure if I wanted to go either, but I couldn't just sit there. So we climbed down the ladder and started toward the fields. By the time we got to the edge, the orbs were gone. The night was silent except for the rustling of the corn in the breeze. Lucas took out his flashlight and shone it ahead. "Where'd they go?" I asked. "I don't know," Lucas said. "But look." The corn was flattened in odd patterns, forming pathways like a maze. The three of us exchanged a glance, then stepped into the field. The air felt different, thicker, heavier. We walked for a while, following the paths until Lucas stopped suddenly. "Hold on," he said. "I'll go grab my drone and we can get a better look from above." "Good idea," I said, glad for the excuse to take a breather. Lucas sprinted back toward the treehouse while Ryan and I stayed put. It felt eerie standing there, surrounded by corn that towered over us. The flattened pathways were strange, almost too precise. Lucas came back a few minutes later with his drone. He set it up quickly and launched a connected into the air. We huddled around the controller, watching the footage on his phone. Holy crap, Ryan breathed. On the screen we saw it, a massive crop circle. It wasn't just random shapes, it was intricate, like a piece of art carved into the earth. Circles within circles, lines intersecting at impossible angles, symbols that looked like they belonged in an ancient language. It was beautiful and terrifying at the same time. "This can't be real," I said. "Who could have done this?" Lucas's face was pale. "No one, not in one night." We stood there staring at the screen until a streak of light shot across the sky. It was fast, so fast I almost didn't see it. Then it stopped, abruptly, right above us. "Oh my God," Ryan whispered. The object was huge, dark, and silent. It hovered there, a perfect circle blocking out the stars. A beam of light shot down, so bright it blinded me. I stumbled back, shielding my eyes. "What is that?" Luca yelled. Before anyone could answer, the beam hit Ryan and Lucas. They froze, their bodies lifting off the ground. I screamed, reaching out, but they were already too high. The light surrounded them, and then they were gone. The beam retracted and the object moved. Slowly at first, then faster than anything I'd ever seen. It shot upward and disappeared, leaving only silence behind. I stood there shaking, staring at the empty space where my friends had been. The corn rustled around me, but I barely noticed. My mind was blank, unable to process what had just happened. A few days later, the police came. Someone must have seen the lights or reported the noise. They questioned me for hours, asking where my friends were, what happened that night. I told them the truth, every word of it, but they didn't believe me. Of course they didn't. "So you're saying a UFO took your friends?" one detective said, his tone dripping with skepticism. "Yes," I said, my voice cracking. "I swear that's what happened." They exchanged glances, then wrote something down. The next thing I knew, they were talking about psychological evaluation and stress-induced hallucinations. Now I'm here sitting on this bed in a psychiatric ward, writing everything down. I don't know if anyone will believe me, but I have to try. Ryan and Lucas are out there somewhere. I know they are, and I won't stop until I find a way to bring them back.